Hello, everyone. Micah Smith here. I am back with another episode of Rebuild and Rise. And today I have a very special guest. And this one is amazing because I look back at the people I've met in my life, and I'm just so honored to be able to call them my friends and to be able to watch their journeys is such a blessing. And so, my friend Alexander Zakharin, I have known, I want to say maybe 7 or 8 years, and he has quite the journey and quite the story. And so, I'm actually going to let him tell everybody just firsthand what he's experienced. He's not from this country, but he has made a splash in the real estate world. He has built quite a name for himself. So, without belaboring it, I'm going to introduce my dear friend Alexander Zakharin to the show, and he works with Compass. Alexander, thank you for joining us from New York City. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mike. A pleasure to be a guest of your podcast. And yes, we're broadcasting from Compass office. We're always happy to see you here.
I love it. I love it. So, if you would be so kind, Alexander, if you could take us back to the beginning. So, you're not from the States. You originated in Russia, correct?
Yes, I'm originally
So,
from Russia, yes.
yes. So tell us a little bit. So, first question I have for you is tell me what it is that you're most passionate about. I see so much of your Instagram. You're a big fitness enthusiast, but tell us all what you're most passionate about.
I'm passionate about a few things, about real estate in New York. Obviously, that's what I've been doing. About social media, that's the other thing I've been doing. About running, I'm also inspired by you and your fitness journey a lot. Since we met, I remember like back in 2018, I believe I was in a different company back then. And
I
was
remember.
like, wow, Micah is doing business, she's doing credit work, she's doing fitness. I was like, wow, it's nice to do a few things in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm originally from Russia.
Mhm.
I'm half Russian, half Ukrainian. My dad's from Ukraine, my mom's from Russia.
Really?
Yeah, I was born and raised in
Wow.
Russia, but every summer you would be in Ukraine. Grandparents, and you would have the whole summer eating a lot, going back to Russia fat in September after all the grandma's cakes and everything.
Oh
So
my
yeah,
goodness.
yeah.
Wow. So tell me, so when did you get to the United States?
So that was actually my third time in the United States right now. So after graduating from high school in Russia, I went to college in Russia briefly, and then I traveled to the United States first time. It was this program called Work and Travel, and a lot of Eastern European people, maybe you met some as well.
Oh, sure.
There was an opportunity to kind of experience United States from both perspective as a visitor, but also get some work experience. And the
Yeah.
idea was like you would just be thrown away in the country wherever you want, and you don't have any connections, you don't have any friends, you don't have any job offers. Usually you have to look on your own, and you will have 6 months. You basically have your visa would be 6 months. I think it was J1 visa probably. So it's kind of
Okay.
like gives you legal status to work, but only for 6 months, right? And then you need to
Sure.
be out of the country.
Sure.
And it was just a nice social experiment. Basically, you would just go to the new country. You probably don't speak English. I used to know how to read English, but I didn't speak English much. That's part of
Wow.
Russian education back then, because you
Oh,
read all these
wow.
books and you probably speak, at least read better than some of native people, but you can't
Sure.
talk, but you don't really practice the spoken language much. So you come here and
Wow.
you're like, oh, wow, they don't actually say, how do you do? That's not the way you ask someone how they are, right? You say how you are.
Sure.
And there's a lot of funny discoveries. So that was
Sure.
in 2007. I was almost
Wow.
like fresh out from high school, came here for 6 months. And then I ended up in Europe again. I was studying in England, spent my college time there. And then once I got a scholarship to study in Georgetown University for some time as an exchange student. There was like this program called Russian Business Leaders.
Okay.
The idea was basically you have to be meeting the age bracket. I think you have to be under 27. You need to speak some English. You need to have some business experience and some leadership skills, whatever they meant. And so they've been kind of like gathering the pool of, I think, 22 people outside of the whole country, like in Russia. And I applied. My friend told me about this program. I applied and somehow I got in. And so that was my second exposure in the United States, almost like 10 years ago now, I think, 2016, the end of 2016. And so I spent a few months, came back to Russia. I was living in Russia back then. And I was like, I got to get to United States, specifically to New York, because that's the most awesome place in the world. And then in 2017, that's when I moved for good, third time.
Wow. So what was the hardest part about transitioning from European countries to the United States? What was one of the biggest obstacles that you can recall early on transitioning? Because my goodness, they're
Uh,
completely different.
Yeah. Legal part takes some time. You need to figure out your paperwork. You come here, you legal in the beginning, and then you need to figure out if you can get a maybe sponsor visa or maybe something else. So for everyone who's coming abroad, it's always an issue. Second
Sure.
part was obviously figure out how to pay taxes, how to do things like local Americans do. Why? Because for instance, in Russia, if you're employed by the company, you receive your paycheck without like the taxes deducted already. I mean, nowadays it's an entirely different country, but back then it was 13%. So every time you receive a paycheck, whatever it is, it's minus 13% back then. So
Wow.
you don't have this issue of filing your taxes and waiting or doing extension, whatever. So you had to
Wow.
learn that, and obviously credit score. And when I met you at my first company, I think I was in business for maybe barely a month or a few weeks. You were the one
Wow.
who opened my eyes on how you build credit score, how you advise your clients on building credit score. I know some European countries that have their own version of
Sure.
credit score, right?
Yes,
Like in
absolutely.
Russia, when I was there, we didn't really have it. They probably do now because everybody's using credit cards, but we don't have this concept of credit score. And for me, it was like a
Wow.
discovery as well. So
Wow. And I mean, you came, you saw, you adapted, and I mean, you're really doing some amazing things. So how did you jump
yeah.
into real estate?
So when I came here first time, first time, my last time when I was here first few weeks, a friend of mine from my high school, he told me that like you need to try real estate because when I was in Russia, I was in oil and gas, so I
Okay.
was in sales all my life, but I was in
Sure.
a different industry. So we've been
Yes.
selling hydrocarbons, basically oil and gas. And I came here. I came to New York because of New York, so I didn't have
Hmm.
any like friends or job prospect or anything. So I came here
Sure.
from New York. I put a picture of New York like a year prior coming here. So I was like, I gotta be there. I need to figure out like how to make it in New York. And that was the whole idea. And then once I came here, a friend of mine from high school, he's like, I know a girl. She used to work with me back in St. Petersburg in Russia. So she's in New York and she's in real estate. And like, you guys gotta meet because you both equally crazy. And so I, I met with her and she told me how real estate worked. It seemed interesting, commission work, interesting. And I was like, oh, wow, you get to keep money that you make. Interesting. And she's like, yes, but there's much more than that to that. And I was like, all right, maybe you can help me to be interviewed by your company. Maybe I can meet someone. And so she arranged an interview. I was accepted. And the rest is the history. So it was a total accident, I guess.
Wow. And how many years ago was that? When did you start in real estate exactly?
So basically 2018, like
Okay.
7 years ago, a little over seven
Wow.
years ago, before the summer, like April, I
Okay.
think it was April before my birthday. So I was like my late 20s. I was turning 30. That's exactly when I started in real estate.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
incredible. And so what has been, so I want to talk to you about something because I think what I love about your story, I mean, I think we're kind of underselling it, how difficult it is to transition from, one country to another full time and to embrace, another country's ways and methods. But what I would love to hear about, because there's some really unique things about you that I even learned when I was getting all these questions put together. You're also a ballroom dancer.
Used to be, yes.
And it's pretty amazing. So you have this passion for ballroom, you have a passion for running, for fitness. How do you think these passions of yours that you have, these extreme, I guess extreme practices when it comes to ballroom, because ballroom is extreme if you ask me, because I've taken quite a few classes and it's no joke. So how do you think being involved in these types of things has helped you in your real estate career?
That's a good question. So when I came here first time in the United States, 2007, as a work and travel, that was actually one of my first jobs in the United States. I was a ballroom instructor.
Oh, wow.
Because it was just easy to transfer. You know how you have like
Sure.
liquid skills and not
Yeah.
liquid skills, I call, like for instance, oil and gas in Russia, it's not very liquid skill unless maybe you're very focused, very specialized, maybe you're a geologist, maybe some tech type of personality. This you can apply everywhere. But if you're like a
Mhm.
manager of like a company or a team, it's hard to transition from like one country to the other, just because it's not really transferable set of skills. But like ballroom dancing, it's universal, right? You can do it in New York, you can do it elsewhere. And so I came here, I was 19, something like this. And then I didn't speak much English, and I got accepted as a ballroom instructor, like a ballroom dancing instructor. I was in Wisconsin, believe it or not, Milwaukee. And there was this nice school. They were really nice to me, East Town Ballroom. And yeah, there was this nice guy who was managing the school for many years. His name was Marty, and he gave me a chance, and I got accepted. I remember the interview was like this is a girl, she's an instructor, like show us something, dance with her. And then I did it. It was like, wow, okay, let's get you in, let's get you onboarded. Yeah, part of Russian education, again, back then, because it's changed, especially after the recent events, war in Ukraine. So it's probably different now, but back then, your parents would like kind of force you to do a lot of things. So you would have to, like in my family, for instance, they will say, okay, you need to study English, like go to school, study English, take classes, whatever it takes will help you out. And then you need to be able to fight, do MMA, do jiu-jitsu, whatever. You need to defend yourself, you need to defend your family. So I've been doing jiu-jitsu, I've been doing MMA as well. And then you need to do something creative, maybe like classic education, maybe do ballroom dancing. So I spent like 14 years doing ballroom dancing. Like, it's basically like what your parents, kind of like Eastern Europe, parents want you to, they always say like, just study as many things as you can and you'll figure your way out. And the same with education. That's why it's a little different. I think like in the United States, it's more like practical education. And sometimes like, okay, you go to college, maybe you have an idea, maybe you can raise funds. It's fine to drop out, right? You just pursue your business. And a lot of companies, right, they've been built like this. And then in Russia, they would still like, no. Your parents would be like, you need to go to college. You need to finish. You need to graduate. You need to have this diploma. You never know what's going to happen in life. So in Russia, every time you're like, all right, well, I guess I'll just be showing up at the classes.
Wow. I love that though. I think that's so important. And I think it's funny because I was just talking to one of my friends and we were talking about the importance of the values that are instilled, in the home. And it really does come from the home. A lot of our success comes from values that were taught in the home. So I love the foundation that you received because I really feel like it gave you a nice platform to build off of. You learned about hard work and resilience and pushing through, and because anytime you're in those types of fields, I mean, it's not easy. Great things in life obviously are very difficult. So I think that's great.
It's the same as you've been building your body, right? Like in fitness, you exercise every single day, right? So with firsthand, it takes discipline. You can't really skip, right? If you have your day, I mean, maybe once in a while you have a rest day, but like you have to do it, right, all the time.
Absolutely. All the time. It's about finding joy in the monotonous things that we have to, right? So discipline is doing the monotonous things over and over and just finding to a degree, not joy in them, but just being able to do them and do them well, right? Just those boring things every single day, making the calls, right? Pounding the pavement, the things that are not glamorous, right? You got to do them if you want to be successful.
Exactly. And then back to your question. So it really resonates in real estate in New York because that's exactly, we all have the same agenda, every single agent to do the same thing. At the end of the day, I always teach my agents as well in my team, like you need to answer really two questions. Whatever you do, am I getting new clients? Am I getting new business? New business in terms of like new listings, right? Because we represent sellers and landlords. That's it basically. And then you build your day around that. And I don't know, Michael, it's always the same proportion of people who succeeds and fails in real estate. Back in my first company, when I was in GZB, that's how you and I met. Then I was with Seekers for a little bit, and then I'm with Compass. It's always kind of similar process. And some people do it, some people don't do it. And I noticed like even back in high school, there would always be like some guys that like have all the time of the world. Like they just go for the classes and that's it. They don't do anything else. And then there's always someone, maybe like a kid who's always busy. I don't know, he's going to music classes and then he's doing some sports activities and his homework is done as well. And like, he's fine at school. And everybody's like, oh, wow, how you do it? Like, you're so busy. I guess having deadlines probably helps.
Sure. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Deadlines definitely, I think, make a difference without a doubt. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I heard you say something really interesting. You were like, the amount of people that I see in pretty much every company that I've been at, there's a chunk of them that do succeed and a chunk of them that don't succeed. Let me ask you about your personal story. And so one thing we haven't touched on yet is how big your brand has gotten in just 7 years. It's pretty notable. So one, I would love for you to talk about how big your brand has gotten because you're what, over a million followers on TikTok, and Instagram is pretty notable. You're following, but can you talk to us about that and how you built your brand and really what it takes for someone to build a brand like that?
Right, right. I mean, every journey is individual, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I have about combined 1 million followers, most of them on TikTok and some on Instagram.
Yeah.
When I started out, when you and I met, GCB, when I was there, like when you taught us how to build credit score, and then I've been using this to every single client of mine. So back then, maybe like my first 2 years, I was solely focused on rental clients. And the way
Hmm.
it was in New York, like, okay, you find a client, it's kind of like matchmaking, right? So it's a rental client, for instance, and then you have an apartment. So you bring a client to the apartment, or maybe a few more apartments. And back then, like hopefully they will like you enough to rent something with you. And that's basically was the whole business model. And so when you start in
Hmm.
real estate in New York, at least, you really don't have, unless you know someone who is maybe selling an apartment, maybe your grandma wants you to sell her apartment or whatever. And until that, you really don't know anyone, and you start to hustle and try to be creative how you get those clients. So
Sure.
first 2 years, I literally used whatever platform we could use. 2018, 2019, that was even a little bit before TikTok, to get my first rental clients. So I was doing a lot of Craigslist advertisement. I didn't
Oh,
have any,
wow.
I didn't have any exclusive listings, by the way. So
Yeah.
like to make sure like your audience understands, like you have like StreetEasy and Zillow platforms. That's where official representatives of the listings post their listings representing the landlord or the seller or the developer, right?
Sure.
If you're not their exclusive broker, there is no way for you to post it on Zillow or in many other platforms for the same sake. Back then, we would use Craigslist and a few more platforms to advertise the same listing. Just put your name there. Obviously, you wouldn't claim that it's your exclusive listing. You just say that this is the listing.
Yeah.
And in my company, there was like, we've been on, I think, 12th floor or something, 11th, 12th floor. There was like an open space, and
Yeah.
every single agent
I remember.
in there, you remember there,
Yeah.
maybe 50, 60 agents at a given time, maybe 70.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing exactly the same thing.
Sure.
Craigslist post, you take a few pictures, you take a few pictures, you post them, come up with some description, there you go. And then hopefully you're going to have some leads, right? And then you meet with those people and you show them a bunch of apartments. And the idea was that you're going to exhaust the clients to the point where you've showed them hopefully more than one apartment, more than this original apartment they came to see.
Yeah.
And you just had to be there when they made their decision. Like, all right, I love this apartment. They're like, okay,
Yeah.
Alex, can you help me apply for this apartment? That was the whole business model, which sounds a little silly, but that's how it worked. And it's like, all right, if everybody's doing the same thing, I need to add some copyright. I need to have like some more marketing in the same ad, because the ads were pretty soulless. There was
Yeah.
nothing special about it. So I just added, okay, speak Russian and English. I speak French as well. So I did French, English, Russian, like whatever.
5 languages I actually read, right? A
I
little
had
bit of Mandarin too, right?
Mandarin from college
Yeah.
times, Spanish, and
So
yeah,
cool.
English, French, Russian.
Yeah.
So
Very
I,
cool.
I think at some point I put Mandarin as well. Mandarin conversational. I probably wouldn't be able to sell apartment only in Mandarin. I could
Sure.
manage at some point, and hopefully maybe later on attorneys will help me. But the other languages are a little easier. But definitely, yeah. And so I put those languages, and somehow I noticed people have been reaching out, and sometimes in different language. And that was interesting because the ads would become kind of like brand effort, not exactly the brand, but a little bit like effort to at least make yourself like stand out a little bit compared to all the other agents, right? And so
Yeah.
that was probably my first thing that I ever did in terms of like bringing some soul into this boring rental business in New
Wow.
York. Basically, that was that. And 2 years, we've been just hitting the ground and showing as many apartments as I could, changing my shoes, because the shoes, as a real estate agent, if you're in rental business, you just walk a lot and you change your shoes every other month or so, because the sole will be erased. So I did
Wow.
it for 2 years until I had my big breakthrough. First big break ever. There was a guy from Florida who tried to rent an apartment that didn't exist, like the things that he wanted. We didn't really have those apartments, but
Oh.
showed him a bunch of options. I remember that he contacted a few agents from my floor because everybody was discussing them. Everybody's like, oh yeah, I'm working with this guy, Michael, and they would mention his last name. And I'm like, he's not only working with me. But anyways, I still showed him a bunch of apartments. He never pulled the trigger. He left. I just followed him up on Facebook, and every now and then I would say how you are. That's about
Yeah.
follow-up real estate.
Sure.
And at some point, I remember, I think there was like a summer, I'm just like showing apartments, and then he sends me Facebook message saying like, I have friends, it's a couple, they want to buy an apartment in New York. Do you do that? I was like, wow, of
You're
course.
like, as a matter of fact, I do.
I do it all the time. And then the couple reached out to me, and they basically, the message was like, Michael is our good friend. We're from Indiana. We're going to be coming to New York. We have 3 days to find an apartment. He told us it's you, means it's you. I was like, wow. And
Incredible.
I met with them, showed them the apartment, and sold almost $3 million apartment to them, 2.9. That was my first.
Wow.
That was my first sale deal.
Wow. You
Took a
never
little
forget that one.
bit.
That's
No.
incredible.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
incredible. So how did you build this immense following on social media?
Remember we had this thing called pandemic.
Of course.
So
Who could forget?
yeah, I changed a lot of business. So the city
Yeah.
was like empty, right? No one was in
Oh,
Manhattan.
yeah. It was eerie.
Eerie, right? You remember
Mhm.
it was pretty apocalyptic, I think, because
Yes.
you just have
Very.
but people were still looking for apartments, and
Of course.
there was an opportunity. Like a lot of landlords, I was still doing a lot of rental business, sale a bit more now, but still both. A lot of apartments were given really good deals, like really great deals, to the point where people from Brooklyn and Queens were moving to Manhattan because for the first time ever in their life they could afford to rent an apartment like in West Village, because you would
Wow.
pay 40-50% less. You could
Wow.
like maybe 12 months rent or 24 months rent as a lease agreement and get like 6 months free or whatever, and then free amenities. And maybe, okay, you want to move October 1st, today's September 15th, just move now, it's fine. You're gonna start paying from October, you're gonna have 6 months free. And there was really an idea to capitalize on that and advertise that as like a net price. We call it net price in real estate. Like say, I don't know, if it's a rent $5,000, 1 bedroom, they give you a few free months, maybe now becomes 3,000, 3,000 and a half. So what you do, you basically advertise it as $3,500, West Village apartment, net price to advertise. But like I'll explain you when you reach out, and you just posted it. I saw this platform TikTok. I saw you could do some things. I didn't know how it worked really. I was following a few cat accounts, a few chefs accounts, like Gordon Ramsay when he was cooking sandwiches. Pretty much that. So cats and Gordon Ramsay.
Oh
And
my gosh, that's great.
let's try to do like a few apartment tours. So I would like take my phone. All the apartments were available because no one was showing the apartments. So I would
Wow.
just take my phone, film the apartment.
Mhm.
At the beginning, I wasn't even showing myself, just the apartment itself. And
Yeah.
like, okay, available now. This is the price, or maybe net price, free few months, whatever. That's it. In the beginning, I
Mhm.
was like, reach out. You don't even need to say reach out. Like I was like, call to action. There's got to be call to action. So I was like, reach out.
Yeah.
And then at some point, they become crazily popular. I was working with one of the buyers back then, and I remember my first video that went viral. It was cast iron building. It's in downtown New York. It's like really cool looking, like lofts.
Yeah.
They have those like pillars, really beautiful, huge windows, like bigger than this one I have. And I was with my client. I was showing her apartment. I literally did a video from like the loft when I was on the
Mhm.
higher point of the apartment, and I just filmed I think 11 or 12 seconds, just like the apartment. My buyer was standing there, and like a really cool window, really funky layout. And I remember I posted it in the morning, maybe 7 a.m. or so, and it's just like 100K, 200K views, like literally in less than an hour. I was like,
Wow.
wow. And then people started texting, people started commenting, engaging,
Wow.
crazy. And then I came to the office. In a few hours, it was already like 1 million views. That was my first
Wow.
viral video on TikTok. And a lot of
Wow.
we got so many leads from this video. At some point, it was not my apartment, it was one of the other company's agent. I was
Sure.
showing it like crazy, all these people. And some of them were like young people, they just wanted to see that that's fine. Apartment was
Yeah.
available for like sale and rent both, right? So I
Yeah.
think sale price was 1.2, 1.25, and rental price I think was like 5K, 5.5K. So everybody was reaching out to see the place. So at some point, the traffic was so big, the listing agent, she was like, just have the keys. Like, I'll leave the keys with the doorman. Like, I can't be there all the time. So I was
That's
showing,
great.
like, that's how it started. And then I started building on that, trying to experiment what worked, what didn't work. And that's how I basically had this growth.
I love that. It's so
Yeah,
organic and just so authentic, and you were just doing what you do and doing what you loved and helping people find real estate, find a home, right? A place to live.
yeah,
And so I think that's really cool. And sometimes, you're filming something and you don't expect it to go viral, but it does. And all of a sudden, one day you wake up and you're getting the keys and you're like, you show the apartment. I love that.
yes, yes. It was
That's
very
amazing.
helpful. It was
That's
like a
great.
boost, basically. When no one was really working in terms of like real estate agents in the city, there was like a very good opportunity to do that. And I think I
Yeah.
was lucky here.
I love that. Well,
Yeah.
I have this true belief when everybody is doing this, I do the exact opposite. And, for you, you just expanded on a major opportunity that everybody else was like, oh, I'm going to take it easy. I'm just going to kick back. I'm going to relax. And you're like, no way. Like, this is my opportunity to shine. Like, like I'm not going to not work. So I think that's huge. Let me
Yes.
ask you this question because I feel like the real estate industry, obviously, so it's glamorized and people have a very strong misconception, not only from a buyer's perspective, a seller's perspective, but also someone who's even looking to become a real estate agent. They think, I'm going to be so successful, and they dabble in it part time, or, buyers have an unrealistic expectation, or sellers have an unrealistic expectation. Can you just shed some light on what it takes to be a successful real estate agent? And then for buyers and sellers, can you help set some expectations as far as what to expect when you work with a good real estate
Yeah.
agent? Because as we know, not all people are the same, and it comes down to, right, an individual. So what separates you from other real estate agents?
That's a very good question, Michael. We need to discuss this question more with our team as well, and like with every single agent. We we really blame everything on selling sunset and $1 million listing, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
when they show like an agent in front of the camera and they negotiating the price and like, okay, how much is this apartment? Like 5 million, and then boom, there's like a commission estimate, right?
Yeah.
And in real estate, you receive, if you represent one side, you receive anywhere from 2 to 3%, usually sometimes up to 4. So
Sure.
if $1 million sale that gives you like a few hundred K in commission, and they show that, right? And then a lot of people, I also know the other industry that suffered the same fate because of the show. I think it's like the yacht service and industry. What's the
Yeah.
show called? Below the deck, under the deck, below the deck,
Yes. Below the deck. Yes.
below the deck. I have a friend. She worked in yachts for many, many years, and it's even more brutal to service the yachts than real estate. It's like you wake up at 5 a.m. All those owners of the yachts, they want everything to be done. They supply cleaning it, making sure the guests are entertained, making sure that everything is like working. It's brutal, but the way they show it in the show, right? It's kind of like
Oh,
this
yeah.
perception. So the same with real estate, especially when you start, it's really hard. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, you need to have clients, either the sellers, either the buyers, right? So it's really hard. I think 85 to 90% of agents, they drop in the first year. And then
Yeah.
I think it's another,
It's that high, 85 to 90 in the first year?
I think so. It's about 85 to
Wow.
90
Wow.
in the industry, between 80 and 90. That's something like this. And I think the average check that real estate agents make, at least in the first few years, it's probably around 50K. Sometimes less, right? Because it's an average, so
Sure.
sometimes less. So it's pretty brutal because you really
Sure.
need to work until you have like enough clientele, and then repeating clients and referrals, which takes time. But referral business
Yeah.
is really lucrative, right? So
Yes.
basically, you know how they show in real estate, like, okay, you show up, you dress nicely, you get to work on the apartment. This is just like the beginning. Even like selling the apartment, the way they show it, I remember like $1 million listing. Every time we
Yeah.
spoke about it in my previous company as well, they would like show like, okay, you have an apartment to sell. They would gather, they would have like a conference room, the table, and they were like, okay, we signed the listing. Now we need to sell this apartment. Guys, how do we sell this apartment? And everybody's like, they're thinking and thinking. And then all of a sudden, one of the guys will be like, I just got a brilliant idea. Let's make a party.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
And
Oh
then
my
like the whole
gosh.
show revolves around the open house. And then hopefully you sell, right? There is, it's much more than that. This is like very on the surface type of thing. Like yesterday we had a master class how to work on the pricing, how to strategize your listing, how to put it on the market at the right time, how many days,
Hmm.
the absorption rate. It's basically like how many apartments you have at a given time, right? Like how many apartments you sell in a month, like in a
Okay.
given. There's like a lot to that, and how to have this
Yes.
conversations with the sellers, like, all right, you want to sell it for 5 million, but it's really 4 million. Maybe they paid 4.5 million for that, so they don't want really to drop the price. So there's like a lot of things, and then interest rate
Sure.
and political climate, like, it, credit score, like if someone's
Credit
getting a
score,
mortgage, you taught me that even 1 percentage point in credit score means hundreds of dollars every month on top of that, right? So
Yep.
there is a lot, and then they don't show it in the TV. And also, the second thing, like all the maybe beginning aspiring agents should know, is that it's hard to repeat the same thing nowadays, right? Because things change all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like you had a few guys, they've been on the show, that was the boost for their careers, fake it till you make it type of concept, right? Which worked. And so they've been on TV, and then they approach maybe the sellers or the buyers, like, okay, you can see me on TV, means I can sell apartments, let me sell your apartment, or let me be your
Sure.
broker. And people will trust them, and it's fine, they will do the job. I know even for the listings to be in one of those shows, they would call the listing, the apartment's owner, and they will tell them, like, I'm going to be on TV. We have some scripts already ready, so I need to present an apartment. Would you like me to present your apartment? I'll be your agent. And then they
Wow.
say
Interesting.
that it's kind of like this,
Wow.
kind of like catch-22 situation. You need the listing for the show, but the show needs a listing. So you kind of like try to do that. That's basically how it was done. And now with the shows, I mean, some of the shows exhausted themselves, right? And then some of
Sure.
them, they're trying to be, again, like Netflix and everything else. They try to produce that, but obviously it's a little different nowadays. So it's not the same at all. And also the regulations changed as well. So
Oh, yeah,
basically,
big time.
big time, right? We had the Fair Act earlier this summer. So now basically you can direct. So if you're a broker, you're not supposed to get paid by the renter unless they hire you. And to hire you, they need to sign the paperwork, which I think is fine if you're confident agent, if you know what you're doing, you deliver to your clients, and
Sure.
they should understand the value, right? Like, what's your
Sure.
value? But for the new agents, it's always very uncomfortable conversation about the fees. Like, and we kind of get paid a lot in a way.
Sure.
You show an apartment, or like you show a few apartments, and you get paid up to 15% of the annual like rent that you're gonna pay.
Sure.
But they need to understand, like, what's your difference, like why you should pay if if you can just go directly to the building. So that's another thing that we might discuss later. But basically everything's changing. It's not like on TV. TV is inspiring, it's motivational, but the glamorous part, there is a little bit of glamorous part, but I always tell agents the glamorous part starts after 6 p.m. Go to the event, but make sure that you have all the checkbox, like you checkbox all the things that you're supposed to do all day.
Absolutely. I love that. And that's a really healthy depiction, I think, of what it actually looks like behind the scenes, because there's a lot of rules, there's a lot of regulations, there's a lot to, like, if you want to be good at anything, there is a process to it. There's methods, right? There's science, there's all these little things that people just don't think of. You have to pass a test to be a real estate agent, right? You can't just jump into it. Yeah. You got to have a license, right?
Update your license every 2 years. You need to retake some of the classes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's an effort.
So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what it takes to really just become the person that you are. And what I wanted to ask you about is, I have a question written down, and I actually love this question. I want to ask you something personal. What did you have to give up in order to become the man that you are today?
I moved to the United States like almost 8 years ago. I haven't seen my family in person since then. So that's kind of given up. I mean, we have all this amazing technology, right? But, with visas, it's a challenge. My mom was supposed to come, but because he's Russian citizen, and with Russian citizenship, like the passport, because of all this political, instability, I guess, and all the war happening, it's like hard to get a visa. So we tried, but like reapplying. So that's part of it. Like, you kind of give up your family. Other than that, I think it's fine. Like, most of the other things are fine. Obviously, it's like in running, it's working out, you do different type of workout, and then your muscles suffer, and then, you're training for a few days, and then you wake up and you're like, wow, you like have another level of strength, for instance, right? You know it firsthand.
Yeah.
So I think for the most part, it's fine. I mean, you sacrifice time, you sacrifice family, of course, it is what it is. I mean, you probably give up some things that you don't need. Do you really need to go Friday night, get a drink? Do you really need that? It's fine. But then on Saturday, you have your running club mates waiting for you on 8 a.m. next to Columbus and 59, and you're supposed to be there at 8, and it's Saturday. you're like, it's fine, I can go out. I just don't have to
Yeah.
stay there all night and have a lot of drinks, right? Work-wise, I mean, you have to be in the office. I'm a big believer in being in the office, at least in real estate.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to be there. Maybe you could do some things remote, but I think it's important to be in the office, especially for the younger agents. It's just so
Yeah.
much things you learn, and then because we learn by osmosis, like you
Oh,
absorb,
sure.
right? So
Yeah,
you
of
absorb
course.
things around yourself. So
Yeah.
if you're at home, you have your boyfriend, girlfriend asking you to bring a drink or food, and then you have your dog or cat bothering you, and there's one
Yeah.
thing and the other thing, and you don't get things done at the end of the day. I mean, for me at least, right? So you have to be here, and you have to show up, and you have to show up. And in real estate, you work pretty much a lot every day, like for the most part every day, because you have Monday to Friday where you build this foundation, get your listings, get your clients, get your presentation right, get your marketing, get your sales pitch, get your cold calls done, get your follow-ups done, get your mailers, get your social media, get your filming. Those are a few things. And then
I love this.
it's the beginning. And then you have Saturday, Sunday. This is the open house time. So you
Mm.
supposed to have listings, so you need to show them. So you build your open house business, and people come and you show, and then it's deal sheets, and it's follow up, and it's presenting the property, and it's doing the right amount of salesmanship. And again, you need to follow up with everyone else, and then you make an offer, or they make an offer. You start working with the paperwork, and hopefully it's a condo, regular building where you can just buy it. But maybe it's a co-op, so you need to apply for the board, and then you need to follow up with the board, and there's like a board packager, and you need to follow up about every single document. You need to have pre-approval letter. You need to check credit scores as well every single time.
Yes, it's a big one.
It's a lot, yes. It's a big one. So you sacrifice a lot of time, but I always think that no matter what you do in life, I think your work, or at least the thing that you create, it's gonna take time anyways. You're gonna be busy. Even if you do regular, if you employ it like W2, you still need to show up, right? So I'm
Yeah.
thinking like, okay, maybe you can sacrifice a little bit of time, but you're building something. It's gonna be like your legacy, maybe, right? Um,
Exactly.
so you're gonna be busy anyway. So why not be busy with something that at least you love?
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I'd like to actually touch a little bit about just the state of the market, because
Mhm.
I'd love to hear just from your experience, the state of the market, if you can help someone prepare mentally for obviously shopping around. I mean, what does it look like practically to be shopping around right now? I mean, people are concerned about rates. Obviously, they've been concerned about rates probably indefinite. They're always going to be concerned about rates, right?
Always.
So, I mean, how do you successfully prepare someone who's looking to buy, looking to rent, looking to finance? How do you successfully prepare them for that?
It's a good question. I mean, like you said, number one question for a lot of sellers or buyers is like the interest rate. By the way, they
Mhm.
just cut it by 0.25 a day or two ago. I think like we basically have the lowest interest rate right now this year, like at least in
Yes.
the past year or so, right? So
Yes.
that's a good sign of relief. There's no such thing as like a perfect time to look for the
Yes.
apartment. I always say that you have to have a strong reason to live in New York or in Miami or LA, wherever you're moving, because otherwise those big cities, they just don't make sense price wise.
Sure.
I have people from Dubai coming, for instance, and they were like, all right, what's your ROI? Like how I'm gonna buy an apartment, so like 500K or like $1 million. Dubai is pretty
Yeah.
expensive nowadays as well, but like
Yes.
okay, in Dubai maybe 500K. I mean, don't quote me. That's the way I feel their market. Like 500K, you can maybe buy like a nice condo, new development, maybe one bedroom, maybe a bit more with amenities. But your monthly, like your HOA, your monthly charges would be like $200, $100, and then you buy it here in Manhattan, 500K. You can buy a resale, one bedroom resale, co-op. If we're talking about new development, we're probably talking about at least 1.1, 1.2 in Manhattan,
Yep.
right? So it's
Yeah.
over a million for one bedroom. It's not going to be big, maybe 600 square feet, maybe 700 square feet, and you'll pay thousand, and every month you'll pay thousand in common charges and maybe close to 1,000 in taxes, right? Give or
Yeah.
take. So
Yeah.
it's completely different. So people from Dubai, they will say, "What's my ROI?" And we're like, ROI really depends on your reason to be here. If you just come here
Mm.
to rent out your apartment, maybe you need to think about it. But maybe if you come here to work or to study, or maybe your family will be here, this is still the best city for education, for lifestyle, for Broadway shows, for connections. You have a hub. I mean, you work in New York. It's
Sure.
amazing, right? But it's
It's
expensive.
amazing.
Yeah, love it. But it needs to be, it needs to have a strong reason. So every buyer or seller, whenever they ask like, is it the right time, to buy or to list and sell? Like I always try to understand and ask like, what's the reason? Do you need to sell now or not? Or how soon you need to buy? And what's the reason of buying? Can you wait a little bit? Do you want to buy it now? So there's like a lot of things, like fundamental things. The economy keeps changing. It always will be changing, right? So at the end of the day, if mortgage rates changes and you have to pay less than mortgage, interest rates goes down, the price will go up anyways.
Yes.
So it's really like a balance. And all they say, like you date mortgage rate. I think they say you date mortgage rate, but you marry the price. Is it what they say in real estate?
Marry the house,
Yeah.
house, date the rate, marry the house, something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's
Yeah.
like one is important, but the other one is more important. One is like short term, the other one's like long term. You can always
Yeah.
refinance as well. Okay, maybe mortgage rate right now it's 6% or 6.5% or 7%, God forbid more. But you can refinance hopefully in the future it goes down. So everything is like in a flux, right? We're probably not gonna see 2.5% interest rate anytime soon. I don't know.
Not in our lifetime, my friend. Not in our lifetime.
Miss that.
I mean, listen, anything's possible, but it's pretty unlikely.
Like never say never.
Never say never.
When I was in college, there was like 2008, 2009 recession, quantitative easing. They've been telling us like, oh, it's the worst recession since Great Depression, and you guys are not very lucky. Like your generation is not the luckiest one. You're gonna go to this job market, and this is like the worst in decades. And I think since then, like how many black swans we had really, like
Sure.
things changing all the time. So I remember so I was born in Russia, Soviet Union collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was growing up, 1998, Russian government defaulted on its obligations, the currency collapsed, so they changed the currency, everybody lost the money. But then 2008, I'm like in college, after high school and college, you have financial recession, the biggest one since Great Depression. And then I'm back in Russia, working there. You have Crimea, when Russia annexed Crimea in 2014. There's like big thing. Everything's sanctioned. You can't really do business the same way. Local currency, I think, lost like 50% of its value. So like you can buy dollar. Before that, you can buy dollar for like 30 rubles. Once it happened, it's like 60, right? So it's double. So basically, if you receive your money in the local currency, you just like 50% of what you have before, right?
Oh my gosh.
Right, and then war in Ukraine, 2022. I was already here, but I'm just saying that. Oh, forgot COVID. COVID was like, wow, what do we do? Are we like, what, stay home? Do we lose our jobs? There's always something. So it's not really the safety heaven, I guess.
Yeah. How many people have you noticed over just your career? How many people have you noticed with credit issues when they present themselves to you? Are they pretty open about it, or how does that usually present itself?
They open if they work with you. Sometimes it takes me a little bit to explain them, basically what you explain them as well.
Sure.
Like it's really a tripod. Like when you buy or even rent apartment, right, in New York, it's really a tripod. So employment, right, great, you make money. Taxes means you've been making money consistently, so they can check it in the past, right? And then your credit score, right?
Yeah.
So I've dealt with a lot of people. You helped some of my clients. I remember I was selling an apartment to a guy in East Village, was close to 2 million, just under 2 million. And I think, so you helped him. He was from North Carolina. I think he crashed his credit score by not paying tickets, whatever.
Something small. It was something small.
Which messed his credit up a lot, but good news, you managed to fix it like very quickly. And we closed pretty much at the time that he was looking about, right? So
That's incredible.
Lucky with you, and I think he cooperated with you as well, so he did whatever was required. So but imagine like you have $2 million to buy an apartment, and he was buying, so he mortgaged half of it, but he was, I think back then he was basically retiring next year, and he got like shares of the company, so he basically cashed out and just paid the remainder. But like imagine that you're a millionaire and you can buy an apartment, but say you need to finance it for any of the reasons, right? The guy is worth millions of dollars. He just had to finance for his own reasons, which makes sense.
Yes, of course.
But they wouldn't finance him because his credit score was messed up because
It's
of
crazy,
the
right?
parking ticket or something.
Yes, it's the craziest thing, and that's what people don't realize is they just don't understand. I mean, I speak to so many people on a daily basis that are very well to do, and just a couple of little blemishes are keeping them from wanting to move forward. Like, I mean, obviously in New York City, right, there's tons of co-ops, and co-op boards usually have, right, they have a minimum criteria of what they want living in their buildings. And we'll see people who want to buy their apartments cash, but can't because their credit score isn't good enough. The co-op board is like, no, we don't want you here because your credit score isn't a 700. They're like, but I'm paying in cash. And they're like, we don't care. They're like, we just don't want you here without a certain type of credit score. It's wild to me. So how many people do you think that you work with, like percentage wise? How many do you think struggle with their credit percentage wise?
Maybe also depends how we define struggle, because if we define struggle like could improve,
Yeah.
so they end up
Yeah.
paying less in the mortgage,
Yeah.
probably every second, like maybe
Yeah.
one out of two, because I think
Yeah.
you explained me last time when you were here, like 749, I think, or 759 and 760, or like
760.
720,
Nicely done. 760. Yep.
what if
Premium.
it's what if it's like 757 and
Exactly.
your mortgage is like you have to pay more, right? I
Exactly.
think
Yeah.
a lot of people will suffer, right? And
Yes.
then obviously when it comes to someone who comes from abroad, they need to build this credit history. That's another story. And then usually they would rent maybe for a few couple of years in the beginning. That's another thing because they overpay massively. Imagine you came from some other country, you don't have credit score, so maybe okay, say you have employment and you can show the employment, right? But that's it. It means that you have to have a guarantor. And
Yeah.
if you're coming from abroad, by definition, likely you don't really have a personal guarantor, so you're going to use the company, and the company will charge you like 1 month's rent. And I don't
Wow.
know if you're renting, even if you're renting for 5K or 3K or 10K, whatever, proportionally, it's at least 1 month's rent, give or
Yeah.
take. You have to pay them just to get approved.
Yeah.
So it costs something.
Yeah. It
So
costs a lot. It
it
really
costs a
does.
lot.
And that's what we keep trying to explain to people is just the importance of the credit and why it's so important to have it in place before
Yeah.
you go to buy or rent, because it does cost you exorbitant amounts more. It's not, everybody doesn't pay the same price. And that's the one thing I wish people understood is that everybody is not going to pay the same price. It's going to be based off of your financial history. It's going to be based off of your financial fingerprint, and credit is that financial fingerprint. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's
I
probably a pretty fair estimate. 50% I think is
probably
probably pretty healthy
yeah,
as an
yeah.
estimate.
The same golden
So
proportion. I just wanted to say that I just closed clients. So I sold them the apartment in Hamptons a few years
yeah.
ago, and they
Okay.
were looking for like a pied-à-terre in New York on the Upper East Side. So we found great option, but it basically had to do with a little bit of the credit, but also the whole paperwork under scrutiny. The guy's a millionaire on the paper, which is great, but some of the paperwork, including credit, like could be improved a little bit. I'm talking
Yeah.
about in 600s, like it's a couple.
Yes.
They were like in higher, but still 600s. And people have been asking me questions as well. And it's hard to
Sure.
explain, especially someone comes from abroad. Like you come from Eastern Europe, you're like, I have money. What's their problem? And you're like,
Sure.
you have money. You don't have history here, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's so true though, right? It's so hard to overcome that conversation. I mean, it's hard enough when people who are born here, who are raised around it, not even they understand it. So it's even tougher when someone's coming from abroad because they're really taught a very different message than
Oh,
what we're
yes.
taught here in the United States. Here, at least we know it exists. We may not know how to fix it. We may not know how where we're supposed to be,
Yeah.
but at least we know that it exists.
You acknowledge that's already a
Yeah.
solution. It's the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
my last question for you. So your journey is definitely one of grit, I would say resilience, as well as reinvention. So if you could leave our listeners with just one lesson about life and success and chasing big dreams, what would that be?
Wow. That's a deep question. Maybe a couple of things. First, maybe don't take life too serious.
Mm,
At the end of the day, the universe is designed to kill you, and it's gonna happen, right? But maybe while we're still here, we can have some fun and do something meaningful, but also kind of be able to laugh a little bit about the whole thing because it's not really that serious if you think about it. So maybe like pursue your goals, but also try to have fun. And life is short. You never know, right? Like
yeah.
just try to have like enjoy the process as much as you can. And maybe second, try to find your own happy place, right? Maybe it's fitness, maybe it's bodybuilding, maybe it's running, maybe it's something else. Like try to have your happy place on a regular basis, and like
Hmm.
don't let anyone take it away from you, right? So something that you can always fall onto if things not going according to the plan. And I think the moment like when I realized that it's like things are not actually that serious, and like I have my real estate and I have my work and responsibilities, but I also have some things that are like on mine and I need to do them. I think once you like realize that, everything becomes easier, and somehow you have more of other things.
I love that.
Yeah.
I've noticed, so one thing that is unique about you, and I think this is why I've always enjoyed being around you, is you're always happy. You're always happy. You always have a smile on your face. You're very jovial. You're upbeat. You're lighthearted. And I think something that resonated with me when I heard this is that successful people are not happy. It's happy people are successful.
I love.
And that joy has to come from within. And so many people often are chasing this dream. Oh, once I have this, I'm going to be happy. Or once I accomplish this, I'm going to be happy. And what they don't realize is that you're actually, when you achieve that thing that you're looking for, you're going to be the exact same person when you achieve it as you are now. So choosing the happiness, choosing the joy now essentially is going to ultimately bring you that fulfillment. And Tony Robbins always says success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And so finding joy in whatever it is that we do, I think is imperative. And to me, I think that joy and happiness, it's a choice because we can choose what we focus on, right? And ultimately, if we're in a state of gratitude all the time, it's going to be really hard not to be happy because there's always something to be grateful for, no matter how daunting things might be around you. And I think this is just a prime example, but you live, walk, eat, breathe everything you discussed today. And following your journey has been really, really neat for me to see. And I'm really excited for you and for what your future holds. And I know you're going to be speaking on a panel end of October.
October, New York Expo. That's like, thank you for bringing it up. It's one of the biggest events, probably the biggest events in terms of the attendance in New York that has to do with real estate. It's October 28th, and you're cordially invited. I hope to see you there as well.
I'll be there.
It's going to be fun. We're going to talk about anything related to real estate directly or indirectly. So it's going to be fun. Thank you so much. And if someone from your audience wants to attend, feel
Absolutely.
free to connect. If you have a link or something, we'll
Yes.
get them in.
Yes. So actually, so that brings me to my next point. So, Alexander, how do we find you? How does everybody find you? How do we connect with you?
First name, last name, every single social media.
Awesome.
Instagram is easier, TikTok is easier as well. Just Alexander_Zakharin, and you'll see me. And I answer all my messages directly myself.
And he does. He does. I know this firsthand. He does.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to say thank you as well for, first of all, educating me on how you approach business, but also how you approach like the balance, because I know that you have your husband, you have your workouts, you have your business, you have your clients, and you always look great and you always smile. And this is something
Thank
we don't
you.
really see in New York very often. And maybe one of your secrets that you, not only in Manhattan, that you managed to be in upstate.
Yes, yes,
Maybe.
Hudson Valley, yes.
Yeah, but also I know that discipline and endorphins and those morning workouts help a lot. And thank you for helping my clients, because you did help a lot of my clients, and I
Oh
hope that
my
will
gosh.
continue. It's like one of those things you wish you didn't have these problems and everybody had
Yeah.
perfect. What's the perfect score? 800, 850? I never had perfect.
Perfect is 850. Yeah.
I wish, on one hand, I wish everybody had the perfect score, but I also wish
Yeah.
that no one had perfect scores, so you and I could work together more.
That was funny. That was really funny. I love that. Well,
Yeah.
Alexander, thank you so much, not only for being a friend of mine, but thank you for being a trusted resource in the real estate industry. And thank you for leading by example. And I hope that everyone has an opportunity to connect with you and work with you. And to all of our listeners and our viewers, I just want to say thank you so much for listening today. And if you were inspired by this show, first, please like and subscribe, but please share this with someone who also will find immense value from not only hearing about the real estate industry, but Alexander's personal story, because goodness knows we all need a little bit of uplifting energy, which Alexander certainly has. So thank you for being on the show today, Alexander. It was truly a pleasure. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. God bless.